Sorry to interrupt your TikTok scrolling, but welcome back to Table for Two, where we serve up hot takes and grace-filled conversations, one awkward situation at a time. I'm Jason.
And I'm Nicole. And today we're back with part 2 of our Red Flags and Revival mini-series.
That's right. We're diving into another Reddit relationship post. And this time it's all about parenting, consequences, and the ever-debatable question, should I pay for my teenager's mistake or let them learn the hard way? This is Table for Two.
Through storms and swallowed our noise, church keys in hand, coffee and mugs, our lives held together by grace and a few hugs. They said she submits, we said we both do. It's not about ladders, it's me and you, serving the kingdom in aprons and jeans, laugh lines and calloused hands and holy routines. At this table for two, there's room for you. Pull up a chair, we'll tell the truth of love and faith with the side of real talk.
So before we get into the nitty gritty of this, I have a very important question to ask you.
Is it what I want? What do I want for dinner?
No, because we both know neither one of us knows that. But no, what's one time you got in trouble behind the wheel when you were a teen? Just one. Just one time.
Just one time when I got in trouble?
Yeah, not the million times.
I was an angel. I was a saint as a teenager.
Right.
I never did anything wrong. I obeyed all of the traffic laws. But okay, I actually have two stories that are kind of funny, if I could share them both. So the first one is my first car was a 1986 Chevy Astro van, right? I don't know if you know what those look like or not, but it's like a big giant box with seats in it. But I love that thing because I could take the seats out, go fishing, everyone which way. But anyway, so I had to be at school. Our school started at 7:20, and it was on the other side of town. And so I would drive myself and my sister to school, drop my sister off at the middle school, then my brother and I would go on to high school. So we successfully dropped my sister off. But as we were crossing, from this, empty back street, we had to cross Ohio Street, which is a very busy street in Martinsville.
Especially during that time of day.
Yeah, to get to the high school, which was well on down the avenue. Well, again, I'm a young driver, and I look both ways, but I don't look both ways very well.
Typical.
And I smoked the front end of a Ford truck on its way to work.
I've never heard the story.
You haven't heard the story before? Oh, this is a really embarrassing one. And if you ask my brother Travis about it, he will tell it in much better detail. But I smoked the front of this Ford truck. When I say it's a Ford truck, though, it's like one of the old 1980s built out of, some type of steel that doesn't even barely crumple when you hit it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So I didn't hurt it, but the driver wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so he, busted his arm up really good. And I did flatten his tires, so he couldn't drive his truck to work that day. The front of my van was a mess. I mean, I had to put duct tape on the headlight later that day just to make it functional again. But the part that makes Travis laugh the most was the guy just said, I'm going to be late for work. I don't have a ride. So I did the natural thing and trying to be a good Samaritan and offered to give him a ride to work. And for whatever reason, he didn't accept my offer to give him a ride.
At that point, I wouldn't ride with you either.
Yeah, that's the part Travis remembers the most. It wasn't so much I got in trouble for that. It was just I made a mess out of my day, out of that guy's day. They had to call my mom, get her out of bed to come and sign off because I was a minor. So that was my excitement for that day. And then my other story, I can't remember if I was still in high school or just out of high school. But by this point, I had replaced the Astro van with a Ford Ranger pickup truck. It was a 2-door, teal in color, had a red truck cap on it, although I don't think it had the truck cap on it at this point. No, I did. I did have the truck cap on.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, no. And now when I say 2 doors, it was 2-wheel drive, 4-cylinder, but it wasn't automatic. And so it was me, again, my brother Travis. Whenever Travis and I are together, bad things happen. I wouldn't trust us together. And then one of our other friends was with us too. And so we're driving down this back road somewhere out in what the locals in Martinsville call the 4th Street, right? And there's this little gravel road, and we're taking it, and I've been down 1,000 times, but as I'm driving it this time, I see a mud puddle off the side of the road. When I say a mud puddle, it was like It's like one of those mud puddles that looks like a small fishing pond off the side of the road, but it wasn't like a pond. It was a puddle. And I get this idea. I'm like, you know what? I bet you I could drive through that.
You gave into your intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, it's like, I bet I could drive through this. No problem. Now, I'm in a pickup truck. What could go wrong? Yeah, it's two-wheel drive. So I put the pedal to the floor. Right, I put the pedal on the floor, which is always dangerous to do when you're in any type of Ford, because you never know what's going to happen to the Ford. And I drive through, I get into the puddle, and immediately the back end of the truck starts sliding. And so I lose all momentum I have going into it, and then it just stops. And when I say when it stops, it is in the middle of this puddle. Like my truck is literally an island, and I get out, and the water is up to the bottom of the doors.
So it's not a puddle.
It's a mud hole. And I have all four wheels buried. And we do everything we can do. Like, I have my brother and my friend stand on the back, like, jumping and trying to get me some type of traction to get out. Like, I had this plan. I was going to steer into the trees and then try and use that to get back out. None of it worked. Like, we even started pulling stuff out of the back of the truck, sticking it under the wheels, trying. And I remember our buddy had this neon green M1 Nazarene hoodie. And we even tried to use that. And we completely ruined his hoodie. And so I did, the only thing I could do is I called my next door neighbor, Paul Burpo. He's the dad of one of my best friends. And I just said, hey, can you come help us? And he knew exactly where we were. He drove out there, and Paul's like in his 50s, at this point. And he gets out there, and all he does is start laughing at us. Like, he's in his big, Chevy Suburban, 4-wheel drive, all that stuff. And he just laughs. He gets out his tow cables, and he's just laughing.
Yeah, I'd be.
He laughs as we're crawling through the mud to hook it up. He's laughing as he gets back in and pulling me out. I think every time he saw me for the next week, he laughed because it was funny. It was quite the pickle I got myself into. So those are my two stories. But
yeah, I don't really have any fun stories of when I got in trouble behind the wheel because I didn't drive. Like, I was not a licensed driver until I was past the age of 18. I wasn't allowed to get my license.
Yeah.
But I rode with my friend Anna quite a bit to and from youth group. And Anna was a bit of a daredevil with her car. She had a 1972 Toyota Corolla. and it was the epitome of a clown car because we would drive it everywhere, but like she always had way too many people in the car. There was one time where we fit 15 teens in that thing.
It's like a clown car. Exactly.
I just said that. You're not listening again.
What? That's a funny way to start a conversation.
Anyways, so we were the time where she had like 15 people in that car. I was like buried in the back seat underneath a bunch of other teens. We were trying to get to the local lake, and all of a sudden, she sees that there's a police officer that just drove past, headed the opposite direction, and he flips a U-turn real fast.
Oh no.
He doesn't turn his lights on or anything, so she starts weaving down the different residential streets in Florence, Oregon, and the police officer is right behind us. And finally, we get enough ahead of the police officer that she puts it in park. We all bail out of the car, and then she drives away. And we're all hiding in the bushes as the police car drives past. And needless to say, she didn't get pulled over or fined or anything because by the time he caught up to her, it was just her and her brother and a couple of other people in the backseat. Like, nothing, no big deal. But yeah, we almost got busted for that one. That's probably the most daring.
You bunch of rebels.
Yep.
How'd you guys go cruising in a town that has one road?
That was Florence.
Oh, Florence.
Not Mapleton. Mapleton's podunk, yes, but Florence is a little bit. It's bigger than Ravenna and Irvin.
All right, now that we had our fun, as they say in Well, I don't remember what movie it is. Let's Get Down to Business. Mulan. That's the movie. Let's get down to business.
To defeat the Hun.
All right, so the story I picked, it's the story of a girl who gets in trouble with her mom for not paying her parking fines.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but we're not doing that one.
You're changing the plan on me?
Yeah, I am. Because the link you gave me was a link to an article about the Reddit post, not the actual Reddit post. And when I went to go search the Reddit post, it had been deleted. So
snap.
I found something else, and we're going to go with that. But it still applies. It's still parenting. It's still all that. But the actual Reddit post today is, am I the bad parent for not defending my son when I feel like he was in the wrong?
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
And so, because I don't have this anywhere in my notes, I have to actually pay attention to what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
you do.
I'll stay glued.
So, this post comes from Caring for Others X, and it's on Reddit. And it says, 3 days ago, my son was in a group chat with multiple children from his school when one of his male friends set upon a female child. The male child called her fat, said she was the elephant in the room, and told her that no one liked her. My son laughed at what his friend had said to the girl, while I can only imagine what she was feeling in that moment. My son's school became aware of what had happened and punished all involved with 2 days of isolation or suspension, which I agree was the correct thing to do. My son's father says that his son should not have been punished as he only laughs. Is he right? Am I the jerk? Am I the bad parent?
Is that all of it?
That's all before the update or the edit. Okay. So what's your initial thoughts on that? Do you think it's fair that he be punished?
Yeah, I absolutely do think so. I think so. I mean, yes, he only laughed, but his laugh was at the expense of the little girl. Mm-hmm. And we don't know why the little girl was struggling with it. I mean, she's a little girl.
Well, and how do we even know that she actually was?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a very strict policy with my students and even my own children that you do not call anyone fat. But Ben especially, like, I've told him multiple times, never call a girl fat. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I call myself fat all the time. And it's like, yeah, well, don't do that either, because you never know what kind of mental buildup that'll be.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're missing something. I mean, just because, like, why is Dad so adamant that the son should be punished? Like, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Well, unfortunately, there's no detail for that. But I think it's just the fact, well, he wasn't the one who said it, and therefore, should he be punished for it? But I don't know. I kind of feel like laughter gives permission. Yeah. And not only gives permission, but it affirms that it's funny and you should keep this up. Yeah. I don't know. It breeds encouragement.
Does it tell us how old the boy was?
No, it does not.
All right. Well, I mean, our kids have to learn that, one, whether they're in the home or outside the home, there are consequences to actions, mm-hmm. you know? And unfortunately, when it happens on school property, and we've dealt with this even some in our church kids group, right? When stuff happens in an environment like that, we as leaders in the church over our kids group and school leaders, they have to take some type of action. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it becomes an unsafe environment for the kid that's the victim. Yeah. So I completely understand why the school would put him in isolation for 2 days. Yeah, yes, he didn't say anything. He just laughed. But again, his laughter, I mean, I'm sure that absolutely crushed the girl involved in the story.
Yeah. When nobody's coming to your defense and you're being picked on like that, that's mm-hmm. devastating. And honestly, the fact that the school became aware of it was indication enough that she was hurt by it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and here's the thing where I agree with the school too. It wasn't like they were suspended from school. They weren't kicked out. They were put in isolation, which where I grew up, that meant we had in-school suspension. Yeah. So you were still at school. You were still getting your homework, getting those things done. It's just you were off in a place kind of isolated with other kids that were in-school suspension. But even then, you were separated in that group. I was only in school suspension twice. So.
Oh, I only had one.
So I kind of know a little bit of what it was like, but it's a good pause and a time to reflect
on what you did.
Yeah. And so.
So there's a little bit of an update or an edit, I should say. And she says, my son is under punishment at home. He has been grounded and lost all of his devices for the foreseeable future. I have spoken with him about why it was wrong to do what he did, and as I've been the girl in this situation in my childhood, so I understand exactly how she must be feeling right now, and I will not have my child be the one to make another person feel that way. He has apologized to the girl and her parents at a school meeting today. The instigator, however, has been given a 3-day suspension from school. I don't hold any hope that his parents are punishing him at home, though. All I know is that my son was in the wrong, and I will not let him treat another person in that way ever, male or female, regardless of the views his father has on the situation.
So that tells me the father still hasn't come around to the same side. But now he's letting his wife carry out some type of punishment. So I will commend him on that aspect of it, But at the same time, too, it's sending mixed signals in their parenting.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I want to point out is that she doesn't say that they're together. They're co-parenting in some aspect. But yeah, it does send mixed signals. So whether or not they're together, living together and parenting together, or separated and parenting together, there's division in how they're parenting.
And I would argue if they were separated, not together anymore, that makes being on the same page, parenting-wise, even more important. Now, I understand if you're listening to this and you're divorced from your spouse, there's a reason you all got divorced, right? And there's probably still a lot of difficult feelings in there, but for the sake of your kids, you have to lay them aside and at least work together for the kids' benefit. Yeah. Now, maybe you're the parent and you're willing to do that, but the other side isn't. Now, this is not the episode for me to get into that advice with you. I'm not saying you should just cave into them because they're not agreeing with what you want to go with. So understand, as we're talking about this, we're focusing really in on this one situation here. Yeah. And again, the reason I think the mixed signal thing is really important, the kid's already getting mixed signals from his friend's parents. Yeah. Because his friend is the one that actually said it. Yeah. And yes, the friend got 3 days of out-of-school suspension, but he's not getting punished at home. No.
Well, as far
as we know.
Yeah. But on top, I have to commend Mom here, because although she's not feeling the support of her co-parent, she's doing what she knows is right as somebody who's been on the receiving end of bullying. And knowing how much even just the laughter at the bullying can affect a child. I love the fact that she addressed why her son was being punished, both in school and out of school. Because a lot of times that's something that parents fail to do. It's something that I experienced growing up, where I'd get in trouble and I had no idea why. Or it would be this inconsistent thing where I might get in trouble, or I might get away with it one time, or even multiple times, and then all of a sudden, boom goes the dynamite, and I'm busted and in serious trouble, and I had no idea that what I was doing was upsetting in any way. So the fact that Mom took the time to sit her son down and be like, this is why we're not doing this behavior, this is why you're being punished for what you the way you're being punished, and the crime fit the punishment. She took away his electronics because that was the means that he was using to be a part of that kind of bullying.
Yeah. This is gonna sound kind of harsh, but we are as a nation are dealing with a high spiking rate of teens committing suicide, kids committing suicide, and a lot of that is due to cyberbullying. And the schools can do their part to slow it down and put a stop to it.
But again, if there's no reinforcement at home,
then it's all for naught. It's still going to keep going. So it's up to the parents, us as parents, to enforce those boundaries, to enforce those things. Now, again, as parents, you're not always going to agree 100% on what a punishment should be. Not always, not all the time.
Yeah.
Now, the way Nicole and I handle it is sometimes there are times where something happens between our kids and a decision has to be made and the punishment has to be leveled, and we don't really have a chance to talk about it yet. And so what we do in those moments is we just yield to the other one's wisdom.
The one who issued the discipline.
And we stand behind them.
Yeah.
We might, even if we disagree behind the scenes, we're not going to voice that in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't help the situation. That only makes it worse, and it kind of gives the kid the impression that, if I go talk to Dad, he doesn't think this was that bad, so maybe he can help me get out of this and skirt the consequences.
Yeah. But
that's not the reality of how situations work once they get older, right? It's gonna. So we're setting them up for failure. But disagreements are normal, but we have to be united in our messaging. And that builds trust and consistency.
Yeah.
So whatever happens when you leave that discussion with your spouse, the decision is our decision. It's not this was your mom's decision or that's my. This was our decision together.
Yeah, and I will say this: she never mentions that her co-parent is voicing that disapproval in front of the kid. And she's saying, regardless of what he feels on this, I know what I'm going to raise my son to do and how they're going to behave. But she never she never says that, he's trying to undermine her. And so I feel like if there was some undermining going on, she probably would have said that. So I feel like even with the disagreement, I am hoping, I'm believing the best here, but I'm hoping that he is at least on the surface supporting her.
Yeah.
Or at least just keeping quiet of his disagreement.
Yeah. And there's actually a good biblical example of this. What happens when parents are divided by the kids, and it's a story of Jacob and Esau.
Oh, yeah.
100%, right? Isaac favors Esau because Esau's a good hunter and good at fixing.
Super manly.
Yeah, he's super manly. And he's even got a red hairy cape that's natural to his body, like Superman. And then there's it's Rebecca. Yeah, Rachel's with Jacob. It's Rebecca
is
favors Jacob, and so Jacob's kind of the mama's boy.
Oh, 100%. He's always inside helping his mom with the kitchen.
And so the parents they are split in their parenting toward these kids, right? Dad favors Esau, mom favors Jacob, and because they never address that,
there's this constant battle between the two boys. Yeah,
and that really comes to a giant crescendo, when it comes time for the birthright.
And the blessing.
And Jacob steals it, tricks Isaac, with Rebecca's help, by the way. And Rebecca's the one that tells Jacob to run away and helps set it up so he can.
Yeah.
And so that completely splits the family. Right, the family kind of dissolves, but why? Because the parents are divided in their approach to the kids.
Yeah.
Now, there's only one kid in the scenario we're reading about, but again, it's going to create a rift.
Mm-hmm.
That's a threat. Any rift, right? When the two become one, what's Jesus tell us? What God has joined together, don't let man separate.
That includes your kid.
Yeah, don't let your kids separate you.
Yeah, and honestly, there should never be a time where you are separated in that, because if both parents are wanting to raise their kid with integrity and honesty and compassion, then it should be a united front. You guys might differ in how that comes comes to play, but it would never, when it comes down to it, you guys could talk out, well, this is why I felt this punishment necessary, or this is why I felt like maybe a little bit more grace is extended in this situation. And at the very least, you guys would see each other's heart and be like, oh, okay, well, I can join you on that. Yeah. I might not agree with the methodology, but I can agree with the end goal here. Yeah. And if you can agree on the end goal, I think you're pretty good. Yeah. That's how we've been. Yeah.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, we don't want to make the kid wait to hear the consequences or come down with their decision. But there's a great episode of Frasier, I think, that really plays into this discussion a little bit. There's an episode where, if you've watched Frasier, you know that Frasier and Lilith, who are divorced, living on opposite coasts, have a son named Freddie. And Freddie is wanting a dirt bike in this episode, and he's begging Lilith, who he lives with most of the time, seeing Frasier on occasion, and he's playing her. Well, Freddie sets up this whole scenario where both parents think the other one's into them again.
He's trying to convince his parents that he wants them back together, so that way when they don't get back together, they appease him with his mini bike. Yes. And they figure it out because, again, they're psychologists. They know the tricks and all that. And they catch him telling his friend exactly like that they were right in their assessment, that he was just trying to manipulate them. And all Lilith says is, Freddie? And he's like, uh-oh. And he hangs up the phone that he's talking to his friend on. And and Frasier and Lilith are like, we need to go punish him. Like, Lilith is saying that, and then Frasier's like, yeah. Just like he's probably feeling tortured right now, and she's like, yeah. And they're like, you want to get some wine? Yeah. Yeah.
So that little bit of suspense, sometimes that's good.
Yeah.
And think about it. When we gave our hearts to Christ, in that moment where the Holy Spirit convicted us of our sin, we felt all the weight and the guilt of our shame in that moment. Mm-hmm. It weighed on us. Now, some of us, we might have responded as that message was delivered and went straight to the altar. Some of us, we may have walked around carrying that guilt and shame for a little while. But at some point, that guilt and shame, we could feel it. Like it was nagging at us. It was all-consuming, crushing. But it's that conviction is what led to the moment where we ask God for forgiveness.
Yeah. But I will point out that in the episode of Frasier, as well as what you're saying, where we're feeling convicted, we know what we did wrong.
Yes.
We know that God knows. Freddie knew that his parents knew what he did was wrong, and he knew it was wrong. But it's so important that when we are handing out discipline, that our children know why they're getting disciplined, because otherwise it's little more than abuse.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And so communication is key in any element of a relationship, including parental. So, okay, this is what you did. This is the punishment that matches up with it. If you're using your phone as a means of bullying, I'm taking your phone away because you're not getting that means to bully anymore.
Yeah.
If the story that you were wanting to share was about a young lady whose car got towed, and so mom withheld the keys because guess what, you had you did something wrong, you lost you used your vehicle for something that wasn't right, and now I'm withholding it.
Yeah.
The crime has, or the punishment has to fit the crime, but also you have to communicate with your child.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that's kind of what the Holy Spirit does when we're feeling convicted. The Holy Spirit is telling us what we did wrong.
Exactly.
And
I've said this in a sermon before, and this is really important. God's goal, which should be the same with our goal as parents, God's goal isn't necessarily to make us feel guilt and shame.
No.
God's goal is for us to accept his gift of salvation God's goal is for us to repent, right? And repentance is a change of mind, a change of direction. It's confessing our sin, knowing that it was wrong, like you were talking about, and then turning away from that life and going another direction. But because we knew that we sinned, we felt the pressure of that. Again, it wasn't because God wanted us to. It was our sin in us, knowing that fact, knowing who we were. That's what led us to the moment where we knew we had to confess. And that's important to remember as parents too, is it's not necessarily that we want our children to feel guilt and shame. We love our kids. We don't want them to feel pain. But they're going to feel it. Yeah.
And so, actually, that brings another thought to mind. The dad in this scenario, the one that doesn't want his son to be punished because he laughed, I'd be curious if he thought that laughing at somebody else's pain was something that was okay. Because it's not so much that the boy was really a terrible child because he laughed when one of his friends made a joke. He probably wasn't even thinking that it was hurting this little girl's feelings. But the question isn't, were you trying to hurt the little girl's feelings? It's, did you hurt the little girl's feelings? The answer is yes. Is that okay? No, it's not. So the goal is not necessarily to make him feel guilt and shame, which is like the mom is pointing that out. The goal is so he doesn't hurt somebody else again.
Yeah, that he learns from it and he grows.
And he knows that, okay, maybe this is not the appropriate response when somebody is making fun of another person. Yeah. It might be my friend and he might be funny most of the time, but in this case it's not funny because he's hurting someone else and that's not funny. And so the mom, I want to encourage her in this moment. You're not in the wrong here. You're not a bad parent for making sure that your son knows what he did wrong. Because it wasn't that, again, he wasn't malicious. He wasn't trying to hurt this little girl. He thought something was funny. But there are certain jokes that are not okay to laugh at because they hurt someone else. Yeah. And if they hurt someone else, they're not jokes.
Yeah, they're cruelty.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I like that the mom did here was not only did she have consequences, the school had consequences and mom backed up the school's consequences. Yeah. He had consequences at home, but it didn't stop at the consequence, right? Yeah. The next thing he had to do was he had to go back to that school
and apologize to the little girl.
Which that's just as important.
Yeah.
When we hurt somebody else,
say sorry.
Yes.
Don't argue saying I didn't mean to hurt you. It doesn't matter what your intentions were. If you hurt someone, you hurt them.
Yeah. A good lesson that I've learned is if I start off an apology by saying, I'm sorry, but. Right? Whatever follows that but is the reason why I'm not really sorry.
Pretty much any statement like that. I love you, but it's going to be a hateful statement following. I'm not racist, but it's going to be a racist statement following. I'm
sorry the church hurt you, but.
It's going to be a church hurt, I'm going to hurt you following that.
Yeah.
So if you're having to start a statement with but, just shut up.
Yeah. The best thing you can simply do, if you don't have any other words, just say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. There should never be a but. There should never be a but after I'm sorry. There should never be a but after I love you. There should never be a but following a statement that is enough of a statement.
That's right. We don't like big butts because they cover up ice.
They do.
You heard that quote here on the Table for Two podcast.
That is going on our Facebook page.
Yes. And that's the other goal. We've been talking about this quite a bit in this scenario. Is the goal is to help our kids. What's the Bible scripture say? Train up a child in the way they should go.
And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Yeah. Now again, that's wisdom, parents. Just because your kid departs from it later does not mean your parenting was bad. Our kids make their own choices and decisions.
But I will say that if you if you're explaining to them why they're getting punished, if you're explaining to them why they're learning these lessons, if you're explaining to them the different elements of your parenting and why you're doing them, they're going to be less likely to rebel against those techniques at the very least.
Yeah.
Or maybe they might be like, okay, I don't like that style of parenting, but at least I understand that my parents loved me.
Yes. Yeah. Grace and discipline can coexist.
Yes.
Like they're not opposing terms. Right? We like to think that they are. But they're not. Love what's best. God's love is both grace and truth. God's love is both rooted in truth and in justice, but also compassion. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not one of those things with the exclusion of the other. It's always all three. And that's how we were made in the image of God. And so we are to reflect that not only to the world, but especially to our own children. Mm-hmm. And so when our kid does mess up, like this kid bullied this one girl,
however unintentionally it was.
Yes, we need to make them aware of what they did. Yes, we need to have consequences for what they did. At the same time, too, we need to remind our kids that we love them. Mm-hmm. We love them. And in little moments like this, well, this isn't, I shouldn't make light of this. It's not a little moment, it's a big deal. But in moments like this, if we let our kids know that we love them in that moment, if they go on and they make a bigger mistake later,
they're gonna know that they can approach mom and dad, and
they're still gonna, and that you'll love them.
Yeah. And actually, as a parent as well, like, you know, I'll lay into my kids sometimes. Like I'll scold them because, you know, their rooms are messy or they're fighting or whatever. But I will say this. When even like right afterwards, they always, it never fails. They will always come up to me like right after I'm done scolding them, and they'll be like, "Can I get a hug?" And I'm just like, "Absolutely." Because my love for them doesn't stop when I'm angry.
Yeah.
And in reality, I try not to punish them when I'm angry because that's just never a good idea. But if I've had to get on their case because they've been fighting or doing something stupid, I do scold them, and they do get punished and they have their consequences. But when they need the assurance that mom still loves them, I do not withhold that assurance.
Right.
Because they need it.
Yeah. Grace isn't about removing the consequences. It's about walking with someone through it. And that's exactly what Jesus does for us. Mm-hmm. You might give your life to Christ and still find yourself sitting in a jail cell. Mm-hmm. You might give your life to Christ but still find that your marriage is in shambles because of the unfaithfulness that occurred. Those consequences are real. And God can forgive you for them. But you're still he's not going to magically make those consequences go away. What he's going to do is he's going to walk with you through them. Again, another good example is if you read in the story of Moses, right? Moses, God tells him to speak to the rock and water will gush out to give the grumbling Israelites something to drink.
And instead he smacks it.
Because let's be honest, we all have been there as parents, your kid's sitting there nagging you, Daddy, I want to drink. You get mad, and you're like, give me that cup. And then and that's kind of what Moses did. He smacked the rock with the staff, and it's the same thing happened. The water came out, the people got their drink, but it wasn't what God wanted. And so God punished Moses, right? And Moses' punishment is kind of severe. He says, Moses, you don't get into the promised land. Now, did God abandon Moses in that moment? No, they still had a ways to go. God walked with him. And God does the same for each of us, and and that's what we need to do with our kids. Now, there are going to be times, though, where we're going to set down boundaries. We're going to have consequences. They're going to have to make apologies, and our kids aren't going to be happy about it. Ben was that way today with me this evening, right? He and his sister got in a kerfuffle trying to clean up their rooms, which are on the opposite side of the house. So I don't know how they ended up in a kerfuffle, but they did. And Emmy came to me crying, saying, Ben pushed me. Again, of course, I wasn't in the room, so I didn't see the entire events unfold. But Ben didn't like that he had to stand there and listen to me lecture him. He wanted to storm off and pout in his room. But I made him stand there anyway. He didn't like me in that moment. Mm-hmm. Sometimes being a good parent means temporarily you're going to be unpopular.
Yeah. Yep. And that's okay. Yeah. You don't have to be the cool parent to be a good parent.
Yeah, and don't try to... They're going to be managed. Our kids are people too. They're going to have feelings. They're going to have emotions. And so as parents, we can't become defensive. We can't become angry and try and force them to get over it. What we need to do is provide them the same constant love and presence as we just did as we were laying down the law.
Yeah. Yeah. Parenting is not easy.
No.
It's not a joke.
Yes. But we keep coming back to this. Grace, unity, and growth. They're the heart of gospel-shaped parenting.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Well, thanks for pulling up a chair with us today. If you're raising kids or you were a kid once, you've probably faced a moment like this. And we hope today's conversation helped you feel seen and supported.
And if this episode made you think, laugh, or roll your eyes lovingly at your child or teen, share it with someone who needs it. And, please leave us a review. Just so we can help more people join us at the table. Yeah,
and help us share the podcast episodes. And by all means, we love your comments on our Facebook posts and things like that. Those are encouraging to us, and it's fun. We love interacting with people.
And we'd love to hear your stories. Share your stories about parenting kerfuffles like this.
And hey, maybe you have a crazy teen driving story where you got in trouble that were worse than mine. Please feel free to put those in the comments. And maybe you can even talk about how you learned about big butts lie here. So, well, until next time, grace and peace, friends.
Through storms and swallowed our noise, church keys in hand, coffee and mugs, our lives held together by grace and a few hugs. They said she submits, we said we both do. It's not about ladders, it's me and you, serving the kingdom in aprons and jeans, laugh lines and calloused hands and holy routines. At this table for two, there's room for you. Pull up a chair, we'll tell the truth, from love and faith with the side of faith built.